Welcome to another Grimspeed install video. My name is Will, and today we're going to be talking about our master cylinder brace. And this is the install for the 93 to 07 Impreza, the 05 to 06 Saab 92X, the 94 to 99 Legacy, and the 03 to 08 Forester. So the tools we're going to need for today's install are a 10mm wrench, a 10mm socket, a 1/4" socket wrench, a 1/4" universal adapter, a 1/4" extension, a 5mm Allen, and a 15mm wrench for the shaft and cup install. Now for the earlier models, including the non-turbo models, we are going to start by removing the washer fluid tank, which are two simple bolts up front. Now we're going to locate the fuel filter. There's going to be a little bit of a clip on one side. Simply release this clip and 1/2 of the whole clamp will be able to be removed. Then we're just going to pull the fuel filter out and set it aside. Make sure not to disconnect or cut any lines. We just need to set it aside so we can get to the two lower bolts. Now here are the two lower bolts on the newer models. Notice there is no washer fluid tank and there is no fuel filter here. This will allow easier access. Now underneath the fuel lines, where we're pointing right here, is actually an AC line bracket. This AC line bracket needs to be removed with a 10mm wrench. It's one simple bolt and it can simply be pulled slightly away from the strut tower. Once this is removed, we're going to be removing the bracket that is connected to the two bolts underneath the fuel rails. First, you're going to start off by disconnecting the clip that the wire loom attaches to on this bracket. It's a simple push clip. Next, we're going for these two bolts here. We're going to take our 10mm socket and loosen both of these up. Once both of these bolts are removed, this bracket will be able to be completely removed. There, you're going to pull it out, and we are going to discard this bracket. We will not reuse this. Now that all the bolt holes are free, we're going to start by grabbing our master cylinder brace. Now we're going to take the bracket and we're going to slide it between the fuel line bracket and the AC bracket we previously removed and the strut tower. So our brace is actually going to be up against the strut tower and the brackets we removed are going to be on top of our brace. It'll slide into position there and it should hold itself in position just a little low while you get the other tools you will need to put it back together. Now we have supplied new bolts. The new bolts are going to go through the original bracket, through our brace, and into the strut tower. Start by hand threading all of these bolts. We want to make sure we do not over tighten here. There might be a minute amount of adjustment you will need to make to get everything to line up perfectly, so make sure these are just finger tight so that way there is still a little bit of play in the actual bracket. Now those are finished, we're going to move to the next bolt. The next bolt is going to be the bottom bolt that the AC line bracket originally attached to. We're going to go through the AC line bracket, through our brace, and into the strut tower once again. Also with this one, please only finger tighten, do not lock this one down yet. Once this one is in, we're going to go for the top open hole on the strut tower. Make sure you line the brace up and the bolt should go right in there. Now once these are in, you will notice there will be a little bit of play in the master cylinder brace. This is good. What you're going to want to do then is attach the shaft and the cup so you can get the exact lineup with the master cylinder. To complete the install, we're moving on to the cylinder, shaft, and cup. Now it's worth taking note that there are 2 threaded shafts in your install kit. You are only going to use one of these. For every model besides the 93 to 2001 Impreza, you will use the short shaft. So the long shaft is only for the 93 to 2001 Impreza. There are 4 key components to this: 2 nuts, 1 threaded shaft, and 1 pressure cup that will be pressed up against the master cylinder itself. Now here is a side view of the master cylinder brace. The side that I'm pointing to is where the master cylinder will be. There are 2 ends to this threaded shaft. One end is a hex, the other is an indent. The indent is going to be facing the actual master cylinder, and the hex end will be facing away from the master cylinder. Now we're going to start by threading on 1 nut to the hex end of the shaft. We're going to then insert this through the hole and thread on loosely the other nut till it almost meets up with the brace itself. You want to make sure there is a substantial wiggle room in here so it can slide back and forth. We're going to then take the supplied cup, which will be pressed up against the master cylinder itself. Now this does not thread on, it seats on here and is held in by pressure, so be careful not to drop this or scratch it up. Now we're going to take our hex key and our 15mm wrench. We're going to hold the front nut near the cup with the 15mm wrench, and we're going to insert the hex key in the back, still making sure there is a little bit of wiggle room. Now we're going to rotate this nut to the right, which will extend the threaded shaft until you make contact. Once it makes contact, you're only going to want to rotate that nut and tighten it 1/2 turn to 1 full turn by rotating the nut to the right. Now still holding it in place in the rear, you're going to tighten the other nut to the right, which will lock the shaft to the master cylinder brace, and that is it. Now we're going to take the supplied zip tie and connect the wire loom back to the master cylinder brace with the provided hole under the shaft. Now we're going to take our 1/4" socket wrench, extension, and joint to tighten down these 4 10mm bolts. Make sure that once they feel tight, give a good extra 1/4 turn afterwards to snug them in. Congratulations, you're all done.